Bryan Williams almost didn't come to Xavier. In fact, he was looking at a much bigger college. But when Xavier responded first, Bryan signed on to the college that was smaller than his Brooklyn high school that had about 5,000 students. He liked the change, smaller classes, being able to talk to professors. But everyone at his Manresa thought that because he was from Brooklyn, he was here to play basketball. But he was here just like they were, to get an education. He wanted to major in finance because he liked working with numbers.
I prefer numbers rather than people a lot of times. Because numbers don't yell back at you, don't talk back to you. Like, you're just trying to find out stuff. So I like that. I prefer finance because it's a lot of working by yourself. I like working alone. And also, you can work with teams also, but I like my alone time to do my own work.
Bryan says he's horrible at basketball. A seemingly odd thing for a kid from New York, where the many playgrounds are littered with young people playing pickup games. College recruiters consider the New York area a hotbed of college talent for basketball. So why would someone who is horrible at basketball volunteer to be a manager for a Division I basketball team? The hours are long, and the work during the season seems never ending. But nonetheless, there he was answering a classified ad in the student newspaper.
I was just looking through the newsline one day, and it was a classified for wanted student managers for basketball team. Like, that sounds interesting. It's like, let me go and see what that's all about. So I went to class, came back, showered, put on my suit, went down there and applied. I was like this is a job interview, so let me go down there. So I'm really serious about this. So I just went down and applied. It's like, okay, you hired. I'm like, okay, cool, no problem.
Bryan was on the sidelines for some of the greatest teams in Xavier history, along with some of the great players like Byron Larkin, Tyrone Hill, and Brian Grant. And he was right in the middle of the emergence of the program against teams like Georgetown in 1990. In November of 1991, Bryan had just gotten his driver's license a month earlier, and he was heading to the Cincinnati Gardens from Xavier for practice.
I just hit some water, some loose gravel, and just left the road. It was a curve, loose gravel, rain, new driver's license. Everything was against me that day.
Bryan's car crashed into a tree. His head hit the windshield, which caused severe brain trauma. He was rushed to UC Hospital.
I used to have this big 30, 40 foot long banner that they had. That just made this big card for me, and everyone who just came to the hospital, so along the hospital wall, people just signed it. But I don't remember much about the hospital at UC, because I really woke up when I was in Jersey. My first rehab facility. I woke up when I was in Jersey.
You woke up?
Yeah, I came out of coma.
While he was still in a coma, Bryan was transferred to New Jersey to be closer to his family. After he awoke from the coma and completed his rehab, he set his sights on finishing his degree at Xavier, something that the son of two educators knew was a priority.
I was like, I gotta get back to school, but I couldn't remember from one moment to the next moment. Basically, I was just, my memory was shot and everything like that. I couldn't do anything, so I was like, I'm going back to school. It was funny. The dean of my old school of college of business, she and I, we butted heads a little bit. Because I said, I need this class or this class or this class. And like, no. I was like, but when she left Xavier, she called me. She's like, Bryan, I'm leaving Xavier now. But you can finish up your degree out there. I'm like, thank you. That's the thing. We're going to a small school. If this had been a bigger school, it's like, who the hell are you? This thing, it says that you must finish all your last credits on campus, and like there's no exceptions. So if you have a smaller school, you have a lot of leeway like that. They can do things. They do more for you because they know you.
In May of 2000, Bryan achieved his goal of getting his undergraduate degree from Xavier.
God, it was so great. I couldn't believe it. When I was sitting at the graduation that morning, I was sitting there. I was actually crying before we started. I was like, man. I couldn't actually believe that I was actually there doing. I was just sitting there. Then I walked across the stage, and I saw my mom sitting right down in the first couple rows. And I saw her crying. That was just so wonderful. All my roommates came back to see me. Because they had all graduated 91 or so, 190. And I was like, I was at all our graduations, and I was like, when they all came back to see me from all over the country, like from Boston, from Michigan. I was like, my goodness, I couldn't believe it. It was just so wonderful.
And one of his greatest memories of that day was his encounter with former head coach Skip Prosser.
One of the best memories about my graduation day was Coach Prosser came down there, came to graduation. He shook my hand that morning. It was about 6:30 that morning. That's the best thing. I was like, that's something I'll never ever forget. Like, here's a man, coach, come down to see me. This person came. I'm like, man, this is fantastic. And that shows how Xavier really is.
When Bryan first came to Xavier, his goal as a finance major was to make as much money as possible. He says that the tree and Xavier helped him see that giving back is a greater goal.
It's not about making money so much now. And that tree changed me. It's like in more ways than one. I was like I said, yeah. That's what I chose finance for that specific reason. It's like what major can make a lot of money in? It's like, okay, finance. That's a major. A lot of people who helped me out, who assisted me, who are making a lot of money, who just doing it because they want to help people, want to do more, help people do more than what people say. Like, I go to a day program 2 days a week, and the people there, they make a lot of money, but they say they do this job they do it for one reason, because they want to help people and they like the people, and that's more important than just being able to say, okay, I made $100,000 this year, but I'm unhappy. I have much money, but I have nothing to show for it, though. You gotta have something else beside money.
Bryan is currently attending graduate school and wants to be an example and an inspiration to others in the community.
I'm taking some classes for my master's degree so I can become a teacher, because New York is definitely a teacher, especially math teachers. I wrote this on a paper one time. I was like, I can be some inspiration to some kids, something like that. I was like look at Mr. Williams. He used a wheelchair. He's not letting anything stop him. It's like if he can do it, if I can do it, I can do it too. Then the kids need more role models, especially not the kind you see dribbling on basketballs and like that. That's a cool one, but that profession is not real. You can't really attain that. The average person couldn't be that kind of person. So you can become an educator, you can become something, but just try to do more than you. Just don't say, everyone say everything's against me, like you said I can't do this, I can't do that. Just try.
For Xavier Magazine, I'm videographer Cliff Jenkins.